Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the conversation. This is Richard Mwenja exclusive. My name is Richard Mwenja. Such a distinct privilege to have your company with us on this show that is the only point of call on matters political and governance analysis here in Kenya. Welcome on board. And today, as usual, I have this firebrand with me, former Minister Kipruto Arab Kirwa. How are you doing today, sir?
My pleasure to be here. I'm doing very well, I thank God for giving us free air. Otherwise, it might be taxed one of these days. So that the space around us, you have to pay certain residual benefits to an individual or a group of individuals for you to enjoy atmospheric air. Yeah.
The other day, your backyard, Eldoret, was made the 5th city, and we saw people pour into the streets, donating their creativity, making statues for athletes who are the face of the county. They were later removed from the streets. But you were part of the team that criticized those statues. Why so?
Well, not because of any misgivings, but it is clear that if you must have a statue of me, they should have some basic resemblance. I remember the one of Faith Kipyegon. The size of the head is not like that. Possibly, even if you are to add the hair style, the one she dons, her head is smaller than what it was depicted. At the same time, even the style, you know, a runner must display some kind of movement, but the other one was like he was somebody was stationary. So, but we thank them for that imagination. The fact that they thought about athletes as their heroes, not politicians, is a sign that we are now moving away from hero worshipping politicians, and we are thinking of a talent that comes from society. More important, I think the government of the day, I'm happy the president yesterday mentioned about 25 sports academies throughout the republic. I think they should target them in a way that it covers the diversity of this country. We lose a lot in terms of getting the right people for sports, in the sense that we've just been dealing with the traditional area of the Kalenjin nation, forgetting that in Western Kenya, all the way to Kisii, we are likely to have some short race runners or athletes. And also, when you go to Western Kenya, some parts of Western Kenya, you can have people who can be very good in shot put. And of course, if you are to deal with the rest of the pastoralist communities, they are very nice javelin throwers.
So your invitation is for us to diversify our sports?
Diversify our sport, increase the sport, also get quality sportsmen and women, and also reduce corruption. You see, the whole problem in Kenya is corruption. You realize this young girl from Mukambani, I think Makweni.
Yavi?
Yes, she decided to go out of the country, not because she doesn't like staying at home, but because she felt that she was frustrated. I don't know whether it's true, but she claims she was asked to give 200,000 for her to be selected. Other things happen also, including issues of misusing some of our athletes from the other gender. So it worries me, and my prayer is that let us spend time harvesting the talent. Of course, we are still the best in Africa, but we could have done better.
We could have done better.
We could have done better.
Should we check our reward mechanisms for athletes so that we make it competitive enough for people to want to fly our flag?
Yeah, we should. And also, we even improve the perks for the athletes, those who win. Remember, it's just like any other talent. It's just like being a professor in an institution, like being a politician, where today, if you serve for 2 terms, you are paid certain lump sum and you are paid money. Now, and I have example here in Ethiopia. I served in Ethiopia for 4 years. People like Ananisa Bekele, people like Kabre Haile Selassie. Kabre Haile Selassie has 3 buildings in Addis Ababa, and another one, a small hotel in a place called Entoto, and another hotel in a place called Awasa, akin to Naivasha. How does he get this? When he wins some prize, some money, the government gives him some kind of soft loan to develop something, a project, and upon completion of that project, the interest is frozen until the project is able to invite the first customer. That's now when the loan is paid. So you are given about, if you win like 30 million, they give you 70 million. And the project of your choice. Kananisa Bekele now has a hotel within Addis Ababa, 22 floors. And the other one, as I've told you, are several hotels. I don't know what others are doing, but that is something that we need to think about. You remember some of the athletes of the 70s in Ethiopia, they died miserable people. But the government of Ethiopia decided, let us reward these people, because it's just like any other pension. You've served the country, then you are forgotten just because you are no longer able to run. These are some, we should look at it as a profession, not just running or whatever, any sport for that matter. And you will make this country very productive and make it unattractive for anybody want to go to Bahrain. That lady, the girl we've just mentioned, I'm told you, when you get gold in that country, you get equivalent of that 6 million Kenya shillings. Here, what do we give them?
3 M for gold medal.
3
million for gold medal, 2 million for silver.
And you know, this one was started by Minor Commander when he was Minister for Sports.
Oh, really?
It was not there before. So Minor Commander was started with a modest of 500,000. Gold should actually be 30 million.
Can we afford it as a country? Can we afford that?
Why not? How much do you steal? Every day. 2 billion every day. These boys and girls will not ask for more than 2 billion. You know.
So if Murkomen wills, that can happen in Kenya during his tenure as Minister for Sports.
I think we should encourage him to do that because he's youthful and he's sportish.
So the athletes also need to have that sense of finesse like him.
Yeah.
To afford it.
Who?
The athletes. They need to also be
No. They need just to run away, chasing the wind as fast as they can.
Not chasing opulence?
No. Chasing the wind as fast as they can. You remember, Faith broke the record. Yeah. Breaking the record should be something in addition. Call it 15 million for gold. Silver, 10 million. Bronze, 5 million. Breaking the record, another 5 million.
We can afford that.
We can afford. Let me tell you, we can afford. Within the Ministry of Sports, you don't need to do an external budget. We can afford.
Despite inheriting dilapidated coffers.
Why? What is the debt? What is the debt?
Jim Wanjigi will tell us that.
Yeah, Jim knows it better than us.
Than John Buddy, maybe?
John Buddy.
The CS in charge?
He will be singing now the language of the executive. I'm telling you, soon. You'll hear him saying the things Njuguna used to say.
And who would the choir master? The president?
The president, or who else? Who else can do that? Murkomen and Osoro.
Silvana Sosoro. But you're happy, Yoteti Sakumi, you're happy the statue of Jonathan B., the governor of the city, was not erected. It was for the athletes.
It was for the athletes, but of course, I think the county government also had a role to make sure that, like when we were teachers, and there was some sports, whether it is competition about singing traditional songs, you have to go through what we call rehearsal to see whether it meets the threshold.
Dress rehearsal.
Yeah, dress rehearsal. That Jonathan B. should have been able to do it.
Straight to the desk.
He embarrassed himself and he embarrassed me by extension. He's my nephew.
We are talking matters to do with coalitions and whether they are a welcomed outfit or in the fullness of time, they are the homes of betrayal and blessings in disguise. And let's begin with the background about coalitions in Kenya. They are now entering its fifth cycle, pre-election coalitions. And I want to understand, normally, do political parties in Kenya get into pre-election coalitions because they believe in shared ideologies, or oftentimes it's because they want to beat the 50+1 threshold to clinch power?
Yeah, thank you so much for that kind of insight. There are a number of, there is need for certain background to be provided. One, as Kenyans, we don't seem to believe there is an alternative view. That is the beginning of coalition destruction. We don't believe there's an alternative view because in 1963, when there was competition between KANU and KADU, KADU, they were running away from KANU because initially some of them were in KANU, and some of them were in KADU. And the two parties were competing, which team is Kenyatta going to join. KADU wanted Kenyatta to join them, and the KANU, of course, believed in the spirit that Kenyatta had left behind. And that's why Jaramogi was very hesitant that don't give us freedom before Mzee Kenyatta is released. Because Mzee Kenyatta had acquired a towering image among freedom fighters in Kenya. So when that did not happen, President Moi, the late Ronald Gideon Ngala, the late Masinde Muliro, and a few other people decided to go to KADU. Now, what was the rallying call? It is unity of the minority against the majority domination, where the majority, in quotes, were the Luo and the Kikuyu. And of course, in terms of the approach, I feel there was still some ideology. KANU, they were saying, uhuru na umoja. KADU, they were saying, uhuru na majimbo. That is, independence with devolution system of government, which was devolved at that time into 8 regions, akin to the provinces that we developed later on, with each province having their own assembly of members of regional assembly. We were part of Rift Valley, for those of us who come from Kitale all the way to Lodwar, and there were other regions. So at election time, KANU won a majority of seats, and that is how Mzee Kenyatta formed the first government, him as the Prime Minister of the Republic, June 1st, 1963. Of course, in December, the Queen now relinquished her position as the Queen of Kenya. So President Jomo Kenyatta became the president, and we became a republic. Definition of republic and independence, those are things that you can do better. Now, 1 year later, 1964, there was some kind of consultation that for this country to develop and move fast, we need to have one political outfit. That is one government that is now like what the president is calling now,
Broad-based executive.
Yeah, broad-based government. Mm-hmm. And therefore, the people who were in KADU were requested to cross over to KANU. That crossover had its own challenges, which when we have time one of these days, I will tell you how betrayals took place in KADU, where some members, they agreed we are crossing tomorrow, some crossed, and some refused, so that they go and bring elders to come and demonstrate, now this is the person who has come with the community. Some of them even refused up to the end, like the late Dr. Taita Towet. He said, I have to go back and consult my constituents.
Taita Towet,
to know whether that is a position. He went, he consulted, he lost the election in the by-election that ensued. It tells you that people principles, they have not just started the other day. They are people who have made that particular history. Now, immediately that was done, then there was frustration of Jaramogi. So it was not coalition because of shared policy direction. It was coalition to make more peace at the presidency and ostensibly make the president concentrate on nation building. And it was never achieved that way. So there was frustration of Jaramogi. Then President Moi takes over, frustrated by what they were calling the Mount Kenya Mafia, and so forth and so forth. So my take is that coalition in Kenya is not informed by principle or policy decision or departure from it. It is informed by the need to coalesce among communities to defeat the other communities coming from the other direction. Our coalition in 2002 was basically coming together to defeat KANU, because we believed if we are not together, if we are to be split into three forces, and by then the constitution was still clear. As long as you have a majority, whether it's 32, because I think President Moi at some stage, he had won with about 32% of the votes, because it was first past the post. Whoever has majority, even by 1 or 100 votes, that becomes the person declared the president. So we realized when President Moi said Uhuru Kenyatta was going to be the candidate for Kano, that it would take us a lot of work, because we were then split into three. Kano, there was LDP, led by Raila, Saitoti, and others. Then there was NAK, led by Ngilu, Kibaki, and the late Wamalwa. So we had a lot of discussions. We had already formulated our team in September 18th, 2002, where Kibaki was the president, Wamalwa vice president, and Ngilu prime minister designate, before we moved now into NARC. So we had a lot of discussions, and eventually, I remember it was in Jobo Mino's house when we met. We invited Raila at 3 o'clock. We had been discussing overnight. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Raila arrived in Jobo Mino's house in somewhere in Mudaiga. And he said, yes, NAK may win. We in LDP, we might win. But if we don't combine our forces in a way that it becomes formidable enough, the project will succeed. We were referring to Uru as a project at that time. So we agreed. And then now we looked for Kibaki in the morning. I remember it was Gigi Kariuki, the late Gigi Kariuki.
Of Laikipia.
Of Laikipia. Mzee Jeremiah Nyaga, one of the pioneer ministers in Kenya. And I, plus I can't remember who else was with me. We met Kibaki in parliament, in his little office as the leader of official opposition. We told him the story that Raila has agreed to combine with us, and we feel we can give him the position of prime minister. He said, hiyo haikuwa, si hiyo tulimpa yule mama. Then we called Ngilu. Ngilu came, and he said, we didn't give it to her, tulimpa wakina mama wa Kenya. So Ngilu is the one who broke the stalemate. These are facts, and I'm sure Ngilu is still with us. Ngilu said, if we don't win, what position will I be holding? Or rather, we give it to Raila, if that will make us win. And that is how we started now, the MOU.
She was ready to be that selfless.
Yeah, she was selfless. You know, these are heroes that they are unsung. Yeah.
But the fire in your belly was the desire to get KANU out of government.
Out of power.
Nothing to do with
That's why we
ideology.
had goal yote yawezekana bila Moi. Because it was not even KANU the party. It was Moi and Moism. Yeah.
I'm concerned now that we are having, we've seen 4 pre-election coalitions this far, and maybe in 2027 going to have the 5th one, now that Raila Odinga seemingly is in bed with the government of the day.
Yeah.
But for the coalitions of today, talk of Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, how can they balance the interest of diverse parties within themselves to avoid running the risk of them collapsing mid-voyage, like we are now seeing in Azimio? They're not sure whether they're in government, whether they're in the opposition. How can they strike that balance?
I think the fundamental is for us to accept that democracy is not about just winning. Democracy is allowing the will of the people to prevail. Whether that will of the people is in your favor or does not favor you, you must allow it to prevail. The second principle in that is that political parties should be removed from being individual vessels for their own negotiations. Such that every party must have systems that the issue for Raila and Ruto to decide that they are coming together should have engaged the organs of various political parties. So that all the players in Kenya Kwanza and all the players in Azimio should have been engaged and using the organs of the party, knowing that the highest organ of the party is the National Delegates Conference. That process should have taken place. And that can only come if the leader himself knows the party is a machinery that can outlive him. Otherwise, if the leader today moves from this party to the next party, to another party, and still people follow him, it tells you it is not the party that people are following, it's the individual. The third issue is that we must also respect each other's opinion. So that if I don't seem to like what you are saying, you don't make me your enemy just because you are interested in cutting a deal with another political arrangement. So that fundamentally is the principles of democracy, integrity, and governance. Otherwise, we are suspected today, if I was to change position and say I'm in government, one of the first suspicions is amelipwa. So hii kitu amelipwa. So how much is enough to pay somebody? This is something that we should be asking ourselves.
Political merchants.
Yeah, they are merchants because, you know, they are not even political businessmen. You know, a businessman has some basic decorum and processes to follow. But a merchant, he can be selling potatoes in the morning. By 11 o'clock, the price of potatoes collapses and their cabbages or maize. He moves with merchandise. And at times he can turn you as a human being into a merchandise.
So today Kiro is in UDA, the next day is in DAP Kenya.
Yeah. And I have no apologies. And I don't. And when you ask me, I get tired and impatient. I don't want to answer you. Why?
You display arrogance instead.
Arrogance and a bit of hostility, outright hostility. Yeah, that's the problem.
But then again, let's circle back a bit. You've mentioned that there's need for us to detach coalitions from individuals. Right now, Azimio seems to start and end with Raila Odinga. UDA parties, sort of the only oxygen supply there is William Ruto. How hard or easy is it gonna be for us to realize this new dawn whereby coalitions stand by themselves, not by individuals and personalities?
Yeah, there are a number of things. You know, the 2010 Constitution has given a number of benchmarks, including the existence of political parties that are supposed to be funded by the government as long as they meet certain threshold. Today, even ODM is in court because they have not been paid almost 1 billion shillings.
Political parties fund?
Yes. Because what is happening? The government of the day is frustrating genuine ways of allowing the parties to be vibrant, just for the selfish end. Let me take you back kidogo. During my first tenure, my first term and second term, and even to a certain extent third term, members of parliament were not being paid house allowance. Why? The executive wanted to make parliament as weak as possible. It is Peter Oluwaringo who brought that motion, and we created Parliamentary Service Commission, where a member of parliament is paid house allowance just like a minister. Of course, the perks may be lower. So, from the same Constitution 2010, what we need to do is to create genuine opposition and genuine government, so that it is not attractive for me to want to move from the opposition to government. That's why I was saying, make shadow cabinet ministries. And in those shadow cabinet ministries, it is a combination of those who are in parliament and those who are outside parliament. For example, if there are 22 ministers, you can say 7 come from outside, 7 among 14 or 15 are among members of parliament. Then even on the government side, it doesn't have to be that all of them must not have constituencies. You can have some of them who have constituencies. Shungwa could have been Minister of Finance from the government side. And somebody else, Dr. Mutunga, is it Mutunga? The one of Nyambene West, I think. Igembe, I think Igembe or Nyambene West. Yeah. The chairman of Agriculture Committee could have been a minister for agriculture. And instead of Mithika Nturi in the past. So these are, then you have a blend, outside and inside, and you make it possible for each side to operate. But as long as we are doing this, you want to win, you run the risk of destroying institutions of democracy. Because political parties are institutions of democracy. Parliament is one of the institutions of democracy. And the separation of powers between the executive and the legislature is very critical. So that, yes, in parliament, there are those who are cabinet ministers on the government side, cabinet ministers on the shadow, on the opposition side.
And then again, do you now implore the minority side after an election, now case in point Azimio la Umoja, to sort of develop a sense of content with their mandate, which is to dispense oversight, other than having this insatiable appetite to be part of government in one way or the other? Would you make that clarion call?
That should be the case, and you can only do that by sacrificing some little resources to make them feel it is unattractive to want to cross over to government. So that if I'm shadow minister for agriculture, then I have not the same powers, but I have the same privilege of information to a certain level. And I can engage the minister meaningfully instead of shouting crimes that may not have been committed. And that engagement should not just be about corruption. It should be about proactive ways of improving the policy direction. That should be more of our clarion call. And you see, corruption and misgovernance comes out of lack of information, comes out of shrouding some information in some kind of mystery, because there are deals that you want to do under the table. But if everything is done transparently, somebody will know, even this guy is not able to eat into whatever is coming to the national kitty within that ministry.
You are inviting us to have less information asymmetry when we are in coalitions, to be transparent enough.
To be transparent. To be transparent enough, and also at the same time to be open and realize that there's really no government secrets anymore. Whatever you're doing in the Ministry of Health, it will be known in Washington before even somebody in Kibera knows. Why should a foreigner know about your policy but not a Kenyan? You see, what are some of the things, and I used to see in my ministry, when I was minister, they say, oh, the government of this has given us 40 million to develop policy on this, in this. I tell them, 40 million, we can get it. Why don't we develop our own policy? Let them fund the policy by mirroring on their programs, but not them to direct our policy.
You're trying to avoid the risk of the person donating to the piper calling the tune.
Calling the tune, at the same time, they will do policy that gives them market for their produce or their supplies in their own country.
I'm then curious to understand. Let's play the case of Azimio today. Azimio supporters feel betrayed. They feel they are a flock that has been left in the world for lions to make feast for. Why? Their leaders, some of them are into the government of today, and they believe the democracy has been compromised. There is no one to represent them full enough and transparent enough. In this case, what can the electorate do to exercise their sovereign power and still make sure oversight has not been compromised, regardless of their coalition leaders getting to bed with the government of the day?
A number of things. One, they must also vote wisely. They should not just be listening to the stories. They should spend time to check track record of each and every individual. There is an exercise that was done by a friend of mine, Mwenda Njoka, on living certificates of various leaders in the past. And he was able to come out with a synopsis of how a leader has developed into what the teacher thought about him 30 years ago. That is what he came out with. And many people, you could see their character has not changed from what they were doing in high school. There are some of the individuals on this political space that we know their character. We know what they have done, even as leaders. But we ignore that and we say, okay, the story is more attractive this time than the story that we were told earlier. And it has come to bear that somebody with bad manners 10 years or 20 years ago has not changed. Actually has improved in terms of how to sell bad manners to people who least suspect it. These are some of the issues. So at times the voters get the people they deserve.
They make their own bed.
They make their own bed and they should lie on it. This is some of the problems that we find ourselves in today and tomorrow.
You can't be polite to them at a time where they feel everyone has betrayed them?
No, they betray their own conscience. Because you see, at times we sell the tribe, we sell hope that in empty vessels, we sell fear. All those things we sell, and there are enough people to be sold to fear. And there are enough people to be sold. Now, where is the Muganga of yesterday? Where is the Mchawi of yesterday? Where is the madman of yesterday? Now you are embracing my Mheshimiwa Raila in Marakwet funeral. Oh, Baba.
At one time he was profiled as a warlord.
Yeah, warlord, witch, Muganga, Kitendawili. So all those things, they have just disappeared because of other conveniences that you and I don't know. We don't know the conveniences.
Now Raila is the perfect bride in the picture.
He's now Baba.
Before we bring this conversation to a wrap, because this is a very detailed conversation, you cannot unpack it in one sitting. We're gonna let it flip over to the next edition. Now that we are having the Gen Z movement, a new dispensation in Kenyan political landscape, going further into the future, would you say that in the architecture of pre-election coalitions, there is need for us to feature in the visions and also the voice of the Gen Z, failure to which it would be at our own peril as political leaders?
I still want to beseech the agencies to fasten their belts, to spend more time focusing on the issues they have raised, and ensuring that any political player, whether in the opposition or in government, must be a clean person. So that if I don't meet the bill, you get rid of me, whether you are in the opposition or on the government side. That's the only way, if we remain vigilant and focused on integrity issues, that's the only way we can get clean people to get to parliament. And when they are there, you just don't let them be. You make sure that you are vigilant and you are focused on ensuring that they stay on the script that they designed. Number two, we need to implement this Constitution 2010 in a better way. Why? Improve structures of governance. Two, stop weaponizing or politicizing corruption. Corruption is corruption. You don't need to weaponize to say, I'm using it against my opponents. Or let us use it against those who don't like us. Or let us use it against a certain tribe. Also important is how do we reduce this tribal hate? Because if you listen to people today, there is so much hate that is being sold, akin to what happened 20 years ago, 2007. The FM stations, they were selling hate. Radios, they were selling hate. And people even in local places and in private discussions, they were selling hatred among communities. We need to gel among ourselves, weld this diversity into a nation.
Well, there you have it. We're going to advance this conversation on coalitions in our next edition. But how about we bring to your screens Heroes Corner with Kipruto Arab Kirwa Waziri, who is gracing our segment today as the hero for the day.
Well. Let us think about it. There is a man who became a junior officer in the Ministry of Internal Security.
Oh, really?
Home Affairs. Mohammed Yusuf Haji. He became a DC at an early age in the 60s, scaling the ladder all the way to become provincial commissioner, including the province where you and I come from, Rift Valley.
Yusuf Haji.
Mohammed Yusuf Haji. He later on became member of parliament, became minister for defense, and subsequently, the people of the county where he comes from, when the new constitution was put in place, he became the first senator of that particular county.
All the way from a junior internal security officer?
Yes, in Nyandarua, and crossed over. And some of the things that he did during his tenure, you remember district commissioners at that time were the people in charge of elections. It was like now the director of elections within the district. And he used to be taken to troublesome areas where we feel justice has not been done. And he did a sterling performance. I remember even in my village, Kabla, one day he came in the company, President Moi came there, and of course he was our provincial commissioner. And at the right time, there was rumor that day I was going to be finished.
You were an MP then?
I was the MP for Cherangani. So he invited me to the platform, and something that happened that I still feel, the field went lit with the applause.
On the day that your wings were to be clipped?
Yes. And then I realized that now I've survived, but I have to be magnanimous to the president. So I just gave him a bit of niceties, and I invited him to talk.
Ukaanza praise and worship?
No, not praise and worship. You see, at times when you get a lot of goodwill, you need to consolidate. You don't waste it like Mani Shumwa and Murkomen. So then President Moi, when he stood to talk, he said, mimi sina shida na Kirwa, ana deni yangu, na mimi sina deni yake. Those who had come to witness me being slaughtered went quiet.
And Yusuf Haji was there witnessing all
He was
that.
the PC of Rift Valley at that particular time. Before he went and did so many great things. Of course, unfortunately passed on in 2021.
Sure.
As a sitting senator of Garissa. I'm sure the son is now the senator.
Yeah.
Doing his second term, because he completed the term of his father,
Yeah.
and is now doing the second term.
And on the other hand, is he the father to Nurdin Haji?
Nurdin Haji, yes. Nurdin, we worked together.
Nurdin Haji?
Yeah, we worked together, not in parliament, but when I was IGAD special envoy to Somalia.
So he knows you?
We know each other, and we are good friends.
And he can still pick your call?
No, I don't call him because I fear.
Back to the father, though. So he lived between 1940 and 2021.
And 2021.
Did you feel he really brought something so tangible on the table that history will always have him in the good books?
Let me tell you something that even when he was the all-powerful Minister for Defense, he had a huge sense of humility. It's something that is lacking in many of our leaders.
Not even from Duale? A man from the region?
Do I know Duale? I don't know. I don't know him very well. We never met in parliament.
Okay.
So I see him in the street as he sees me. But let me tell you, Yusuf Haji, he had a deep sense of humility.
Perfect Muslim?
Yeah, I think genuine Muslim. Yeah. He had deep sense of humility. Even, you know, Richard, at times even some people don't know, Moi was a humble person.
Come on.
I'm telling you. He was, but, Moi, the person I know, was very humble. And somebody like Yusuf Haji almost picked from that. You see, I picked a lot of traits from Kibaki, but I cannot be like him. Yeah, because Kibaki was unique in his own category. So Yusuf Haji understood, even when we were not in good books, anakusalimu na heshima. Now, he's an all-powerful Minister for Defense. And I'm just a miserable guy from Cherangani. Yeah.
With a less powerful doc at agriculture?
No, we were not together.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he was there before me.
Okay.
Yeah, he was there before me. He was Minister wakati wa Moi. I was Assistant Minister. Yeah. So you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's older than me by over 17 years. Is it 17 years? Yeah. So you can see. But still, he was very humble. Yeah, with that trademark white beard. And a very nice counter suit. Unique, actually more unique than ours. Thank you.
Very well. And do you think the sons have made him proud? Every father would envision to have sons like those of
course,
Haji.
If I was to get to that level, perhaps I would be more proud. Yeah. But for him, I know even wherever he is, he says that is a blessing from God. You know, we get a lot of blessings from our parents. Yeah. Any favor you get, it is a blessing from your parents.
We hope Nurdin Haji is watching this show.
I hope so. I will send him. I will look for his number. I sent him.
Well, asante sana. God rest the soul of Yusuf Haji in eternal rest. And thank you so much for your contribution to this great nation that is Kenya. Thank you so much, Waziri, for your insights.
It's my pleasure.
We love it anytime you take us down memory lane. We were not there, but at least you were there, albeit as an infant then.
Not an infant. I was a sitting member of parliament.
You are. So you're that old?
Yeah, I'm approaching 70. Yeah.
Then we kick you out of this town.
I will come back in a small car. Yeah.